The person that's speaking, that is you.
Is that mine? Okay, then. It's me, it's Audrey. I'll tell you what, I've got broadband problems. So today I'm not using my tablet. And that's why I'm coming up with this because I don't have broadband. So I'm using my phone. Anyway, I'm from London.
Hi, Audrey from London.
Had a beautiful Sabbath. It was wonderful today. We had a lesson on love, God's love. It was lovely. The sermon was on God's love. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you. It's great to have you. Thank you for
looking forward to today. Thank you.
Brilliant. Me too. And so at this point, I think we are able to continue with the program because we are now live streaming. So thank you for your patience. Over to you, Shirley.
Thank you, Sharon, for holding the fort for me. And welcome, everyone, to the TTI Health Show. Sorry for the delay to be on, but we just thank God that we're here. I just want to, before we start, because everything just seems quite a lot, going to pray before we begin. Okay, so we're just going to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us. Dear Lord, we thank you for allowing us to be here together 1 month on. Some people has not made it to see this day, but we thank you, dear Lord, for allowing us to be here. And we thank you for your Sabbath, the Sabbath day of rest. And we pray, dear Lord, that as we come together to hear more of your word, and with Sonya speaking, I pray, dear Lord, that you be with her as she delivers the message to us. And please be with each one of us on the Zoom and on YouTube as well. We pray these things in your precious name. Amen. Okay, so this afternoon we have Sonya Barnes with us, speaking. When she had the when Sharon sent me the title, I was like, oh, the double-edged sword. So I don't know what Sonya is going to talk about, but it sounds very interesting, especially when it comes in terms of the title of her presentation. But before Sonya comes on, just like to share with you all, because we're 1 month nearly to Kevin Lee, and for those who are coming, that's great, and for those who are not coming as well, I just want to share with you. I don't know, Edgar, if it's ready in terms of it's just been circulating around in terms of the workshops, and it's in terms of the workshops, it's quite powerful workshops, I would say, especially in terms of preparing us when it comes to mentally and physically and also spiritually for this entire week. But I don't know if it is ready in terms of the flyer, but if not, what I will do, because I'm not going to prolong because it's already 4:20 and we've been late, I will hand it straight over to her. So if Edgar's not ready, Edgar, are you ready? If not, I'm going to hand it over to Sonya.
Sorry, I was sharing my screen. I was waiting for you to say something, Shirley.
Okay, let me share my screen. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and good morning if you're in a time zone or it's morning. We got to give God praise and thanks that we are here today. Not many live to see today. And so in every situation, we give God thanks. Okay. So I'm going straight into it and share my screen. We pray that the Lord will keep the internet services up, okay, and so that we all can benefit from it today. Let me share my screen here. And I'm talking about the double-edged sword. It's always a privilege to share on TTI's platform. Always a privilege to be back. You know, I have to give it to the TTI team. They've been working tirelessly, and they've been around now for 4.5 years, and are always there to share with their audience. And I know there are people here, many and want to share the information to others. We're living in perilous times where we have to be more accountable for ourselves in knowing how the body works, knowing what to do when things go on us, where we're not able to go to the GP anymore. What do we do? And so I hope at the end of this presentation, what I share with you will either reconfirm what you already know, or give you some more insight, and also bring an interest in wanting to research a bit deeper. Because there's so many times, as we know, that symptoms can be missed for one reason or another, or there's tests done. Sometimes we go to the GP, we're trying to do the right thing, we're trying to help ourselves, but sometimes we miss these crucial things. So that's the hope of the presentation at the end, that you'll be able to gather some more insight from this. So the double-edged sword. And yes, I've titled the double-edged sword because I classify a couple of things I'm talking to you about in body as a double-edged sword. So this may sound familiar to you. I'm not able to go to the park today. When it comes to certain times of the year, I stay indoors. I don't venture outside. The smell of cut grass just irritates me, irritates my sinuses. You know, I just have to miss the summer party in the park this year. You know, I know of individuals who can eat a particular fruit or vegetable, but when I do, those fruits don't like me, or either my body don't like those fruits or that vegetable, that food. And you hear these things time and time again. And so I ask, do they sound familiar to you? A relative could be a sibling. Indulge in a fruit that you want to eat, but each time you do, there is a problem.
Hi, Sonia.
Yes?
Just sorry to interrupt you. It's very rude. Shirley got disconnected. Could you make Sharon, or could you make my laptop the host? What it's done is it's just automatically switched to you.
Yeah, I've done it to yours or Sharon. I've done it to Sharon.
You know, it says Wallace.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Right.
Thank you.
No
carry
problem.
on. Carry on.
That's fine. That's fine. Yes. So does this sound familiar to you? You often hear these phrases. What's going on in the body? Because oftentimes when you go to the park, you will actually, let me just go. Going to the park will result in let's get back into my. Let me just get myself sorted again. It's all right. Yes, going to the park which results in headaches. It could be runny nose, always walking around with a packet of Kleenex tissue in your pocket. Dare not go out without it. Be kept outside without some tissues. Or sometimes it's pulling for a pump because your asthma attack, or it could be difficulty breathing, scratchy throat. The lips are swollen, could be the tongue as well. But also, in addition to that, runny nose, of course, because the pollen on the outside, which from research shows that the highest pollen is in the western region of Britain. Now, I don't know if anyone here is actually viewing from there, but it says that the western side of Britain has the highest pollen. Of course, pollen is in the southeast as well too, from particular trees. But what research is actually saying is that these extra pollens are a result of environmental factors such as climate change. We'll see if climate change is the only thing that brings this on. Because 1 in 5, sometimes report says 1 in 4 individuals will also develop hives or urticarias on the skin. 15% of people will experience this over a period of time. And of course, these itchy skin and whelps on the skin as well as a result of being outside. And so in order to be outside and enjoy the summer, of course, or the summer parties or walking the dog or being with your family and socializing, of course, we go to the GP or get help from over the counter for antihistamines. Antihistamines is a form of oral or even gels or creams on the skin, Claritin and Benadryl, and there's various other types. There's also a report that actually now shows that the reason you can get these over the counter, but that they are now new medication because the regular Claritin and Benadryl are not as effective as others. Because of course, antihistamine is given for the runny nose, the scratchy throat, as well as hives on the skin. And so they're separating to see, okay, what works and what doesn't work. But what is happening in the body? Because we talk about antihistamine. Anti being against, opposed to something. Why are we antihistamine? So what's going on in the body that we're trying to block? Because of course, histamine is a chemical that the body produces anyway. It's involved in the immune system, the digestive system, the central nervous system. It's also a neurotransmitter, which communicates between the brain and the rest of the body. It even triggers stomach acid. So histamine is something good. But often we reach for the medication, antihistamine. You see, when the body is, when the immune system is flared, because of course there is a pathogen running around, of course, the body using mast cell and basophils cells, and because mast cell is already in the body, but the basophils, they may short-lived, but their purpose there is to be active and ready to pounce, ready to jump, ready to take action against these pathogens. So when we go out there, and of course we have the flare-ups and the runny nose and all the symptoms that we just looked at, the body's ready to fight. So histamine is released. And so the body then says, okay, you're out there, but then we need to dampen you. We need to put a lid on you. So we need to we need to keep it in place. We need to turn off the switch. We need to lower the amount that's running around the bloodstream. Every organ in the body has histamine receptors. Every organ. So you can see it's something that's vital. So it's good. But on the other hand, it can get out of hand. I liken this to women at the airport, and you're going through security. You have to empty your bags. If you've got your laptops, take it out. Because and the sign will say, no liquids above 100 ml, any sharp objects, remove it, all that stuff. That's the machine that's detecting, looking through to see, can they detect any of those items in your bags? Okay, well, histamine is running around, but of course we need to capture it. So we keep a lid on top of it. So it doesn't run wild and become too much that we have to use antihistamine. When there's antihistamine being used, it suggests that there's too much histamine in the body. Too much histamine. And when there's too much histamine, after a period of time, the body gets intolerant. There's an intolerance to the histamine. So the histamine causes blood vessels to swell so that white blood cells quickly can move around to resolve the problem. But of course, there's too many of that action happening. And so the body gets overloaded with the histamine, so it becomes antihistamine and it becomes histamine intolerance. But there's just too much going on. There's too many spikes going on there. And so this histamine, it affects the gut, of course, the lungs, the skin, the brain, the cardiovascular system. And this is the point I want you to pay close attention to. Because we mentioned about the symptoms in the park, going out in the summer. Don't want to be out in the parks or anything, being out in sunlight because of the negative effect it has on the body. But of course, histamine intolerance shows up this way as well. And so if you have a look at this list, too much histamine in the body then turns into histamine intolerance. That will impact on sleep, hypertension, dizziness, vertigo, headaches, cramps, eczema, itchy skin, joint pain. I'm just going to pull out a few of these. Fatigue, chronic fatigue. But we're talking about histamine here. There's a difference between going outside and experiencing the runny nose, the stuffiness and sneezing and the hives in the skin. We're now looking at more deeper impact on the body when histamine is too high in the body. And of course, there are histamine receptors, H1, H2, H3, and H4. So things like brain fog, anxiety, depression. Now, could this be an issue for someone here today? And, you know, as I said before, TTI has been on for over 4 years now. And I know there'll be individuals here who have learned a lot and have put things into practice. And they're on a health journey. So where this may not be directly for them, they may know someone. Could be a family member, could be a friend, someone in church, in the community that is suffering, where they've gone to the GP, they're trying to be on a health journey and applying the 8 laws of health as well, but they're still showing up with symptoms that just happens out of the blue. They could eat a fruit and they have runny nose. And if you notice on the list here, the runny nose, the congestion, the wheezing is resembled equally similar to what you take an antihistamine for. So you may go to the GP thinking, oh, I'm showing up with all these symptoms. Take an antihistamine, but it's not doing anything for you because it's very different. Because the histamine intolerance is not an allergic reaction. There's a difference. You have an allergic reaction to something, and you also have allergy. You also have an intolerance to it. So when we then go to the GP for histamine medication, we need to understand what are we going there for? Because antihistamine has a downside to it. It blocks stomach acid in production in the gut. When you block stomach acid, you then show up with a whole heap of other symptoms. Acid reflux comes to mind immediately. Bloating, malabsorption. And so, talk about histamine intolerance. The next question I'll say to the individual, so what's going on in your life? And as a practitioner myself, and many other practitioners here today, we then look, what else is happening for that person? So they're showing up with symptoms, but what else is behind it? Nobody wants to be in pain or have runny nose. Of course, we then look for an easy fix, what I call the plaster, but what's the root cause? What's then happening? What's more happening in the person's bucket? And we look at what's called the histamine bucket. And this bucket can be put up, as you can see here on the screen. Environmental, okay, fine. Allergies as well, good. Histamine foods, stress levels, hormones. I want to just touch on hormones. A woman who is perimenopause, she will tendency to have high histamine in her body, because if she has an imbalance with her estrogen, the estrogen will impact the histamine and spike histamine in the body. Yes, sometimes women can have it rough, and so the symptoms of hot flashes, mood swings, irritability, itching on the skin, as I mentioned earlier, all the results of histamine intolerance. Bad bacteria, gut bacteria. The gut plays a huge role when it comes to histamine intolerance. So the message here is histamine intolerance is not just grabbing a medication quickly to dampen. We think it's going to go away, because there are deeper issues, the deeper concerns that's going on at this time. And I make mention quickly of medication. So the individual who is diagnosed as diabetic person and on metformin, metformin has a tendency to increase the histamine levels in the body. And of course, even the same antihistamine medication over the counter that we're taking will increase this as well. Talking about histamine intolerance and the brain. The brain, I would say it impacts the brain negatively. We mentioned about mood swings. We mentioned about, and one of the things I want to pick up here is when doing the research, when it talks about motivation, even motivation. The individuals just lack motivation, or haven't got the get up and go, not really want to have no focus. They just lost that. What's going on for the person? So as you can see, it's more than just a runny nose or a scratching of the throat. Oh, that is big. Yeah. Yes. So sleep and wake cycle interrupts it. Pain, mentioned about joint pain earlier. Person will experience joint pain. What about taste? Individuals say, well, I can't taste my food. I need to add a bit more salt. Or, I've lost my smell. Or, the eating, I'm just eating. I'm not getting satisfied with the food. I have a plate of food in front of me and eating, but I'm not satisfied. Why is that? Memory loss. Addictive behaviors. And addictive behaviors is not just necessarily want to be on your phones constantly. Addictive behavior could be even on food, even or getting irritable and even affecting our emotions, shouting or easily triggered. Histamine intolerance that's going on in the body. And so when we look at the gut, for those who are around me and who heard my presentations, the gut is key. It's an area of the body that I like talking about a lot, because I've had all my symptoms, I've gone through the journey, and suffered with gut health. And I think if you heard my story a few months ago, where I was saying, even when I was born, I had a tendency that I would have gut issues growing up into my age now, okay? And as a result of how I was born, how, of course, my mother, the story time now, my mother at the time, I asked her, what were you eating? But of course, she was having a lot of milk and cheese and dairy stuff back then. I won't tell you how old I am right now, but yeah. And so the baby, the fetus, the grew big and big. That was me. And so I weighed 13.5 pounds at birth. There's no way that I could have been a natural birth. And so at that time, now things are different. When a lady has C-section, they are now then using the microbes from mother and swap all of the baby. So because microbes are crucial to the body. We have trillions of microbes in our body than cells that make up the body. And so these microbes at once are pulling the strings, I say, the core of it all. And so when I was the age of 6 years old, I developed pneumonia. And to this day, I do remember how ill I was. And so I've lost a lot of those microbes that the baby should be born with. So I'm always having to not playing catch up, because I never play catch up. Some of those microbes I'll never get. So I have to then eat foods and take probiotics to help myself. So it's a topic that's really close to my heart. And so high histamine levels as a result of gut health, and gut in the form of leaky gut. And when we talk about a leaky gut, is intestinal permeability, and where there's tiny holes in the walls of the intestines. And so when liquids get through as foreign seems, and the body sees them as invaders, they spike the immune system, and the immune system gets to work to try to kill these, to get rid of them, get rid of these pathogens. And so we then sometimes develop things like SIBO, small intestines overgrowth, all as a result of histamine, high histamine in the body. The body doesn't know exactly what to do with it. And of course, when we have SIBO, of course, our diets are high in sugars, refined carbohydrates, antibiotics, medication disrupts the microbiome. And of course, I mentioned about the brain earlier, but the brain and the gut, they work closer together via the nervous system. So high histamine intolerance as a result of bacteria that are not balanced, which we call dysbiosis. So what do? We turn to solutions. But before we turn to solutions, these we're going to talk about what's called also the double-edged sword. The Bible talks about double-edged sword. Food provides the body with energy, but food can also be the root cause to histamine intolerance. The double-edged sword is food. It goes around and it blocks an enzyme called diamine oxide. And that diamine oxide is crucial to the body. So the double-edged sword could be a blessing, it could be a curse. So foods, regular foods you're eating, you're thinking, okay, well, does it really apply to me? Well, let's just have a look at some of the foods that are high and rich in histamine. So foods, and you're probably thinking, okay, yes, I can identify with some. Eggplant, aubergine, dried fruits. That could be your raisins, your craisins, or cranberries. Avocados. How can avocados be on the list? Is that healthy food? Spinach. Who likes to have their green smoothies and add a bit of isn't it? And it helps you to feel fuller for longer. And it has all proteins, all of the goodness in the nuts. So why is nuts on the list? Why are these fruits there? But yes, they make up what I call the double-edged sword. Because we eat them, of course, to strengthen our body, to nourish our bodies. But equally, they can cause harm to that individual who has an intolerance to histamine. And then will show up with all these other symptoms and will become confused, not realizing what's going on in their body. So we have things like banana, strawberries, papaya. Eat to forget the other things that's on the screen, which you probably think, well, I don't eat those because I've been with teacher such a long time and I've changed my diet now, so I don't have cheese anymore. I'm not having any canned fish or processed meats. No, I don't do that anymore. But look at the ones will be classified as food foods. And that's why health is so individual, because then your neighbor or your sister or friend or someone at work can have a nice banana fruit bowl, but then somebody else who has that will start streaming, stuffy nose, an instant headache as well, hives on the skin. Then go off to the GP to get the medication and realize, by the way, that's not what is going to help me. So let us have a look now on foods that actually helps the mast cells in the body to release histamine. So we're talking about histamine coming in from the foods we're eating, as well as histamine foods that we eat that will trigger those cells to act even quicker because they're invaders. Nuts, papaya, bananas, pineapple. They are all foods that get the immune system flared up for the person who is not able to digest or to get rid of the excess histamine. So why is this happening, Sonya, you may ask? What's happening in the body is that this compound is called diamine oxidase, and diamine oxidase is an important digestive enzyme produced in the kidneys as well and the intestinal lining of the digestive tract, and it helps to break down histamine. So if this enzyme is deficient in the body, histamine will just run riot. Histamine will be everywhere. There'll be an intolerance of it because the body's not able to get rid of it. It's like when we're having conversations about estrogen, we talk about estrogen imbalance, and because the estrogen is just running around because we're not pooping well and to get the excess estrogen out of the body. Histamine intolerance, this is exactly what it is. Very similar situation. Too much histamine will cause issues, not just runny nose, but also bloating, affects the brain, aches and pains, cognitive impairment, concentration, and the list goes on. So why do we then have low oxidase? And low oxidase of the foods that we're eating. That dampens that enzymes that needs to be there to keep the histamine in check. And of course, I mentioned about how important then. So things, yeah, important is the gut, and the gut's important to histamine because that's where it stems from. So a gut that is impaired, you know, microbes, dysbiosis have more bad microbes than good ones, will impact histamine. Now, there are lots of studies, and this topic here also is, I would say, fairly new in a sense. When I say fairly new, because there are more research going into it where they realize, hang on here, there's more to histamine intolerance than what meets the eye. So, but there are studies there to show an individual who changed their diet. That diet is key, because diet is what then dampens the enzyme, which needs to keeps the intolerance in check, the histamine in check. So there are studies to show that if you eat a diet which is low in histamine, and the diet could be a temporary diet. You have individuals who can remove some things from their diet. Yes, avocados, strawberries, bananas, all those, if you're on those and you're having those symptoms. Remove them for a while, go on a low histamine diet and reintroduce to see whether or not it still impacts you. There is a blood test that can be had as well to check for the histamine intolerance in comparison to the diamine oxide enzyme. But there's also supplements out there which can help. But for those of us who know that we promote food first before supplements. So a low histamine intolerant diet would be one that would be recommended for the individual who's experiencing this. So how can we then increase the enzyme? That DAO enzyme, how do we go about increasing it? We increase it by eating vitamin C. Now, fruits, some fruits high vitamin C. So things like kiwi fruits are high, but kiwi's not on the list. So we have strawberries, we'll stay away from the strawberries. Blueberries is not on the list, so we're going to have some blueberries. And of course, you need to increase vitamin a dysbiosis in the gut where you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, we sometimes have to then go towards a supplement. Vitamin B6 also is considered a cofactor enzyme in the body. And so this will also help with increasing the DAO enzymes. And an inadequate supply of B6 will lead to, of course, the detriment of reducing the DAO enzyme for a long-term basis as well. So we need to look at our plate, look what's on it, and it's a bit of an elimination and a bit investigation, which can sometimes be tedious and confusing sometimes too. And that's why sometimes, the research is saying that doctors will miss it because they're not looking that way. But as you know, practitioners like myself looking at someone's food diet and it's showing up now with different symptoms, I'm taking that into account. Oftentimes I have clients who come to me for support and you've gone through and you've done the investigation and you've done a 6 weeks and you're expecting the person to turn around and make some changes, or even before then, but they're still showing up with these symptoms. I'm saying to keep this in mind. Is the person tolerant to histamine? Magnesium. Magnesium is crucial to the body. As we all know, magnesium is on the front stage of it now, just like vitamin D. But magnesium, we need magnesium in the body to help in the role of increasing DAO activity in order to keep histamine down, so we don't have an intolerance to it. Next up, we have vitamin C and fatty acids, especially the omega-3 fatty acids. So chia seeds, or pumpkin seeds, or flax seeds, ensure you have those in your diet as much as possible. There's also zinc, there's also iron as well too. And with zinc, and each time I mention about zinc, I'm always also careful to remind myself to mention copper. Zinc and copper goes next, hand in hand with each other. And sometimes we take a lot of zinc and not copper, and copper is a small mineral, however, it's so crucial for the body. So what I'm suggesting here is getting a supplement, if you go in a supplement route, where you have zinc and copper together. Of course, you can get it the immune system, of course, immune response, and will also help with the airways, nasal passages as well too. So they show that stinging nettle leaf balances the variety of inflammatory activities. So I know teacher got a lot of information, previous presentations on stinging nettle. So if this is your first time hearing this, just do a search on that. Because stinging nettle, cook with it as well too, make teas, tinctures, you name it. Next up, we want to include some other herbs: holy basil, dill, lemongrass, oregano, parsley, sage, rosemary will all help with increasing this enzyme. And of course, the recommendation is always to follow the 8 laws of health. God's health laws, as we put it. So of course, the diet. So we're going to be using a reduced, so a low histamine intolerance diet, of course. Exercise on a daily basis. Water intake helps to flush away excess histamine, but drink water in accordance to your body size, of course. Sunlight. They may say, well, how am I going out in the sun when, going out there, come out for a period of time. Maybe put scarf on, cover your head, go out quickly. If dark skin like myself, 45 minutes doesn't really hurt. Go in the back garden, take a walk, get some sunlight. And of course, fresh air. Fresh air again, okay, well, the pollens are going in. So short time out in the park if you're going to the park or you're going out where there's fresh air. You probably can drive to the beach, drive to the coast if it's nearby. Rest. Now, high histamine intolerance will interfere with your sleep. So if you're tossing and turning at night and you're trying your best to go into bed before 10 o'clock, but you're still not falling asleep, or you fall asleep, you're waking up, could it be that you have this intolerance? But still, don't give up. Make sleep an important aspect of your life, because sleep is like medicine. Sleep is like medicine. And of course, trust in God. Pray and ask Him for direction. Because as I said earlier before, because the symptoms mimic so many other illnesses and diagnoses and diseases that the body is succumbed to, this is often missed. But there's more and more research and presentation being done on the impacts and the negative impacts that histamine intolerance is having on our body. So trust God for guidance and to take you through this time, which can be so horrible, because you're trying to find the answer of what's going on in my body, but not able to. And I just want to share a list of food additives as well to avoid when you're on a low histamine diet. And as much as I don't like to say the word diet, because healthy eating, but for the person who is suffering with this, and there are individuals who are, look out for these food additives. And of course, trying to eat clean, but also eating food that are fresh. Because something I'm about to mention earlier is that even food that you've gone to church, there's fellowship lunch, and you've gone with there's excess, so you've been shared out. You can have that for your breakfast tomorrow morning. But when you reheat that food, whether you're using microwave, which I hope you're not using one, but whether it's on a cooker, you're increasing the histamine levels in your body. Food that are reheated are very high in histamine. So again, histamine is coming in from the foods we eat, and remember, the body also makes histamine. So that's why we succumb to histamine intolerance. Thank you for listening, and I thank God that the internet stayed up because in times like this, we know how everything goes. So thank you for listening, and back to you there now, Shirley.
Thank you so much, Sonya, for your presentation. And I hope my internet stays up, because it kept cutting out a few times. So we shall see how this goes for the rest of this program. But I'm just going to check in the chat and see if there's any, but there's no questions, I don't think. No, there's not really much questions, to be honest, Sonya, unless someone would like to ask it to you by a voice, with their own voice. Would anyone like to ask a question?
These are all individuals who attend TTI weekly and support. So they're on a health journey. So they can take this information, take this information to others who might be suffering with this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's why there's no question.
That is very true, Sonya.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm just going to make someone co-host.
Shirley.
Hello?
Yeah, Shirley.
Who's speaking to me?
Dawson.
Oh, hi, Dawson. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
We have one question. All the herbs like, thyme, parsley, all those herbs, should it be in food or separate from food, like cooked food?
Yeah, so say for example, you have a texture of, for example, nettle. We can cook nettle, like steam nettle and eat your nettle. So, and it could be where you have the others like your oregano as well too. Or you may make little tinctures with it as well, if you can, or if you're going to purchase it and you take it internally, that will help to increase that enzyme. Diamine oxidase enzyme is crucial, very crucial. It's the reason why individuals will show up with histamine intolerance. Yeah.
It's nice that you did that topic, Sonia, because I know that this is a time for hay fever time and so forth. So yeah, it's come at the right time.
Yeah, and the thing, because the symptoms are so close to other diseases as well, it's often missed, and that's the thing. So we're taking antihistamine, other histamines, and we're damaging ourselves because that's not the answer. The answer is because we have an intolerance to certain foods.
Right. Yeah.
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 And this intolerance is not like an allergic reaction. It's not the same as having an allergy, but because the symptoms are so similar, then they are treated such, and it's not.
Right.
So we run ourselves into, and we miss things like, imagine bloating, acid reflux, because the histamine levels are quite high in the body. The body's not able to excrete. There's a hand. Is there Sasha?
Yeah, Sasha.
Yes, hi, thank you for your
Sasha.
presentation. Hi, Shirley, hi, and thanks for the presentation, Sonia. I missed the first half of the presentation, but I find what you've presented to be quite interesting because since recently, I have been encountering some reaction or what we call hay fever, which I've never had before. I'm not sure if you covered this in the first half of your presentation. So could it be that I am now having issues with the histamine, foods that are high in histamine? Can you just speak a bit more on that? So if somebody did not have like hay fever before, that could be a consequence of the increased histamine level. What could be contributing to this?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Sasha. So what we're saying earlier is that sometimes you eat the food, and the question you should ask yourself is, have I been out in the park? Have I been out where grass is, or have I just eaten food and I have stuffy nose, I've got teary eye, my tongue is swollen, I've got itchy throat? What symptoms are you showing up with? Because I don't know if you saw the list of the foods, but probably bring the slides back up. There's a whole list of foods and healthy foods as well.
Yeah.
That you have yes, healthy foods, bananas, strawberries, avocado, spinach.
Yeah,
papaya, aubergine can have because they're all coming in with histamine.
yeah.
And the thing is, the riper the food is now. When I came across that part of it, we go to the shop and we want the avocados. We know how important avocados are, right? And so we go to the shop and we pick up a few. Now, sometimes avocados can be a hit and miss. When you get home and you put the knife intercut, when you open, you're thinking, my goodness, my hard-earned cash here. What do? Do you pare it out? Peel out the bit that's not good and toss the bit that's not good and eat the bit that looks good, healthy? Because the answer is to toss it away. Because avocados are high in histamine. And if it's very, very ripe, and who wants to eat the avocado that's not ripe anyway? It doesn't really taste nice. It can even give you runny tummy. So avocados is one of those that are very high in histamine. And the riper the fruit is the highest the histamine levels are. So the bananas, I don't really like eating my banana. When you peel the banana, you hear it. I don't like the sound of that because the banana is like, you just about see the yellow bit on the yellow skin coming through. But to have it where it starts spotting, the histamine levels are quite high. So the individual who has an intolerance, they'll have a problem with that. Whereas somebody else can eat that banana and they're fine. And that's why health is such an individual thing, because we have these healthy foods around us, but not all of us can eat at that same time. And so it's just mindful that, yeah, a sister can eat have the strawberries, but just you can't right now. But and we're not saying, and the studies are saying not that you won't ever eat those fruits, maybe depending on the individual, because this intolerance could be, once you remove them from the body and you get rid of the excess, you can reintroduce those foods back in and they're fine. Others, no, they're not able to eat that food. And that's why you hear people often say, oh, when I eat such a food, it gives me a flare up. When I take this drink, I have an allergic reaction to it. It doesn't like me. I like it, but it doesn't like me. I've often heard that as well. You know, during my assessment with clients, when the question that I'm asking, they said, if I were to pay the highest amount of money, lots of money, which fruit or vegetables I would be able to pay you to eat? And they'll listen keenly to hear what they're saying. And some will say, bananas, I'm like, bananas. Oh no, when I eat bananas, I have such and such. Because they have an intolerance. There's histamine intolerance in the body. So the banana is going in with histamine, and the body's already making histamine. So the cells are saying, oh, hi, there's more histamine here. There's a foreign object here, let's react. So then you come out with a runny nose, you got hives on the skin, rash, joint pain, the list goes on. Breathing issues, headaches, and headaches just out of the blue. Oh, where headache? Oh, wake up with this headache. But the media had the night before. Could be very high in histamine. And I don't know if Sasha was here when I mentioned about reheating food. So the fresher the food is the less histamine you have in the body.
Right.
So hope that helps.
Wow, Sonya. It's yeah, all I can say is wow. Yeah, definitely. It's just it's food for thought. Even when you think about it, for those who suffer from hay fever, when they talk about the grass and so forth. So basically they're getting like a double whammy if they do eat the bananas or the avocados or the aubergines. So yeah.
And of course, if the diet is such that they eat meats and you know, canned fish and stuff, it's even worse. Yeah, because those are part of the foods. I hone in on the fruits and vegetables because I know our audience, you know, more or less probably will be consuming more of that than the other foods. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So, and the thing is, it's like, sorry, one of the study that I came across also is a question here that says, like, it's 96% of individuals who are experiencing those list of symptoms that I shared. 96%. So sometimes you experience, you're experiencing these things, but where is the root cause? Where is it coming from? And you're trying to do your best. You're listening to teacher presentations and you're thinking, okay, let me implement this. Let me eat my nuts. Let me do all this. Let me exercise. Hang on, I have these symptoms. What's going on with me? I'm always having a piece of tissue around to, you know, handy, just in case I need it because of histamine intolerance.
Wow. Veronica's got her hand up. Veronica?
I had a question for the presenter. On one of the slides, you had I think it was the one that said experiencing ellipsis and all of these conditions. And I was curious if, I don't know if you can go back to that slide, but I was curious I know I have family that their blood pressure is uncontrolled and they're doing everything they're supposed to do, but the blood pressure is still uncontrolled. And I just was curious, how do we approach that in trying to get that looked at? Do we ask them to do a DAO test?
Yes. And you can get a test. I know you're in the US, by the GP. There's some companies that do these tests as well because they're looking for the levels of the histamine intolerance and they're looking at the levels of the DAO enzyme. what that's showing in the blood, in the serum test. What are the levels to show what's going on in the body? You mentioned about your relative. Something you probably can start doing, ask them to do, is an elimination diet. Just look back to see what they've been eating in the last. Food journals also are quite crucial. I know it's tedious sometimes. You want to eat your food, they're going to make a list of what you're eating. But when you're actually looking for the answer, take that little time out to make a note of what you're eating and how you're reacting. And then that sometimes helps us to take time to eat, not eating on the run, because sometimes we're not registering what we're eating. And sometimes the symptoms are there, but because we're so busy moving and to get things done, we forget to check in with ourselves. So make a journal. How did I react to that? And because the reaction sometimes can be days and sometimes within the hour. You're reacting to that food. So for your relative, yes, to get a test done to see what the levels are and start doing some elimination and how you feel.
So it's a histamine test, not a DAO test.
Yes, histamine test and a DOA test. Because the blood test will look at the levels of both to see which is higher. And oftentimes histamine intolerance levels are higher than the DAO. Because DAO is lower, and that's why we then show up with the symptoms and unexplained, because you're doing everything else. Because if you're bloated, if you're feeling bloated, you've heard, okay, your water, your fiber to a certain level, because when you're bloated, you don't want to go chucking in a lot of fiber. You want to pace yourself, increase your fiber intake. The recommended daily allowance is 20 to 25 grams for female. But you might not want to go in with 25 grams every day because you have a bloating. So you're trying to do some elimination, some detoxing to get rid of stuff, and then you start increasing your fiber. So you're doing your fiber, you're drinking your water, you're trying to go to bed, you're trying to implement in the 8 laws of health, but you're still showing up with these little symptoms here. Where are they coming from? It's always trying to look for the root cause. Ask the question, but why? Peel back the onions. Why? Why am I showing this? Hope that helps.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for these questions, Sasha, Veronica, and thank you for answering it, Sonia. So Mum's up. So Mum.
Hey, Sonia.
Hey.
You're looking lovely. Now, Sonia, you know something? It's just made me realize how complicated and in-depth a consultation can be based on what you've just shared. Because I think you've been met with a wall of silence because everyone's like, When you think of the foods that you love, and I saw some foods that I really, really love, and it's on the list. And I'm just thinking back because about 3 weeks ago, we were abroad, not the Caribbean, we were abroad in Europe. But I found myself, we were eating specific foods, and they're fresh foods, they're known fresh foods, avocado being one of them. And I had a lot of mucus. I found myself swallowing mucus like behind my throat. And it took an awful long time for it to disappear. But not only that, I came up with I wouldn't say hives, but I was saying, what's going on? So I'm just wondering if I need to start checking, my histamine levels, because I don't suffer from hay fever, but it was just weird.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to retrace what did I actually eat that caused that type of reaction. But not only that, you've just explained to Veronica, you've just given a great answer to Veronica and Sasha and everyone else. But now I'm thinking to myself, the next time I sit down with someone, I've got to start thinking about some of the foods they're eating, and the diet has to be a bit more intense and interrogative, if that makes sense. Yeah. So thank you very much for that very enlightening presentation, Sonia. Just puts a different slant on things. And looking forward to seeing you in August, by the way.
I'll be there. Yes. Thank you. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Mum. But yeah, in terms of what Mom just said, she's right. Because sometimes you always look at people having dairy, like cow dairy and meats and stuff, but now it's gone to what plant-based food are you eating? So
Yes.
yeah, the consultation has to be thorough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Shirley, because when I start experiencing the hay fever symptoms, which I've never had before, I'm like, but how come I'm getting this? Because I've never had,
Yes.
I'm not having any milk, I'm not having any cheese, but yet still I'm getting the runny eyes, my throat is itchy. And I'm like, what is this? So I'm like, what is causing all of this? But no, it does make sense. If some foods are pretty much increasing the histamine levels, then apparently that may be the source of my symptoms.
Yeah. Definitely.
The double-edged sword, eh? Can you imagine?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Food is, yeah, food is
Now
what
I
we
know.
so feel. Yeah, the double-edged sword is a food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. I don't know if there's any more questions. There's none in the chat. I don't know if anyone else would like to raise their hand.
So just one question from me, Shirley, and then I will stop talking.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so Sonia, from what you have seen, so if a person has not had hay fever before, they've just experiencing the symptoms recently, have you seen that having a cleanse, would that help to minimize the symptoms, or is it just eliminate the foods that increase the histamine levels? Can you speak on that?
Sure. Good question. I'm not sure if you were here when we spoke about the bucket, the histamine bucket.
No, I wasn't here, so I missed like the first part of your presentation.
Right.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Right. I was going to bring back the bucket. See, because in that bucket, we have hormones, we have stresses, medication. We can go back to the bucket. Quite a few things in our bucket. And we all have these buckets, because guess what? We all have histamine in our bodies. Our cells have the receptors for histamine. So it depends. So like yourself here, depends on what's going on, happening for you right now. So you think, okay, am I stressed? Am I losing, how is my gut health as well too? Because it all starts with the gut, that leaky gut, then it brings the histamine. So it's looking at elimination. What can I tick off my list? No, I sleep good at night. No, I'm not on any medication. Because even metformin medication will increase histamine. Even the antihistamine medication from over the counter or from the GP to help to dampen the symptoms will also increase your histamine levels in the body. And a host hormones, if you're perimenopause, menopausal, will also increase it, because the histamine is in every cell. And that's why the entire body, whether you're male or female, will have histamine. But then what's triggering it for you? And that's why the double-edged sword for me as a nutrient practitioner, I'm looking at the foods now. Yes, I'm taking into account other things, but what is this person eating that could be the culprit? Is that the root cause? What's their diet like? And then look and think, are they eating these foods? And if they are plant-based, okay, then we discard those ones, which are typically, because alcohol also, but is this person drinking? No, they're not. No, they're not doing that. They're not eating any processed foods, no refined carbs or anything. No, they've gone to TTI and they've listened to health talks around, they're trying to change their diet. Fine. What else is there? So is it the food, or what food is it? Is it the fruits? Is it strawberry? Is it banana? Is it aubergine? Is it even lime and lemons? Now I know a lot of individuals have our lemon water in the morning. Check in with yourself. How do you feel? Because I know one of my siblings, she will not drink lemon water in the morning because she says she doesn't feel good. I can never get her to drink lemon water. And citrus foods and oranges as well. She just won't have it because guess what? Those are high in histamine. But she's on a plant-based diet for many years, far more than from when I started. It's one of my older siblings. And so it just worked for some. And that's why when we as practitioners, we all cannot eat the same foods. We all are on a healthy pathway, healthy journey, and we need to get to our destination, but the pathway may look different. So what you can eat, I probably can't, and and vice versa. But we try to do our best in eating what's right for our body, because our body will react to it. And then, of course, we look at the root cause as to why now we could be histamine intolerant. So let's look at the gut. Let's try and heal the gut as well too. But even in healing the gut, someone will have an histamine intolerance as a result of fruit and vegetable. And for me, spinach. And I like spinach. I do. But it doesn't accept taste. And I love some other foods as well too, personally. That's why I started digging into this area. And then, of course, start speaking to my clients about it. Go there first. What's the root cause? What's causing these symptoms? Because it can be frustrating as well too. As you said, out of the blue, you develop these symptoms. Where are they coming from? Yeah.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Thank you. Wow. Yeah.
You're welcome. Are we going over time?
You know, I had one more question. You know how they talk about when you heal and seal the gut? If you heal and seal the gut, then you don't have to worry about the histamine issue, or that still will be an issue?
Yeah. Now, see, when you heal and seal the gut, it's a continuation. So the individual who has an intolerance for a temporary intolerance, they're fine. So they can reintroduce these foods and they will be fine. That's when the microbes are in the right place and you have more good microbes than bad microbes. So you haven't got something called dysbiosis anymore, where there's an imbalance with the bacteria. So you're eating meals and you have no, you're not looking at foods. If you're having maybe runny nose or aches and pains, it could be a long time you had a fall, and it's only now when you're in your maybe, I don't know, but age, you know, older on, that it's now, you know, coming to light that, oh, I had a fall, so I have aches and pains. Could be that, but it definitely won't be the food. When you're healing, you seal the gut. Now there's individuals who gut is fine, but they just cannot have that particular fruit or vegetable. And that's just them, because for them now it's a genetic situation. They won't have that, even though it's a good food. So the healing sealing, yes, that happens, but it depends on the individual whether or not their flare up or the intolerance is a temporary intolerance or it's a permanent one, where they just cannot accept that food anymore. Don't eat that food. And you have individuals like that. Because I go on to say also, it's, you know, we shouldn't lose sight of the microbes in the gut, which are also responsible for a lot of this as well. So I hear someone saying, this can be complicated. Yes, it can be complicated for the person who is going through it, as well as, you know, the doctors, the medical people who trying to find an answer. But it's something that we should all be aware of, keep in the back of our mind. Histamine intolerance. Go ahead.
I've learned something new today.
You're welcome. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
You know, Sonya, you know, when the doctors, you know, someone is suffering with something all the time and they can't put the finger on it, not realizing it's to do with probably histamine levels or their diet. And then the doctors just say, well, we're not sure what's wrong with you. They say it's idiopathic, don't they? They just say, well, there doesn't appear to be any reason for it. So just try this and try that and try this again. You understand?
Yes.
So it just makes you realize that you really have to, as you said, get to the root of the problem, the cause, and not realizing that it's just a simple blood test and what they're probably eating that they're allergic to. Yeah.
Definitely, John. Definitely. Yes. A simple thing as banana, eh? Who would think? Who would think? But yeah, there's been studies now, research done that yes, just by changing the diet in having a low histamine diet for a period of time and introducing back, like about 30 days or so, introducing back those foods to see how you react to them, how, you know, what histamine are they bringing into the body, and whether or not you've increased. Because the thing is to increase the enzyme, because the enzyme is one to keep a lid on the histamine, so it doesn't spike up. So that damine oxidase enzyme is crucial. Crucial. You need to keep things in check, and that's what it does.
And not many people realize also that they remove enzymes from foods, especially canned foods.
That's right.
Yeah, they remove enzymes from food, so we have to be really careful of that also. And our body needs enzymes.
That's right.
To stop them, I think it's to stop them from breaking down, Sonya, isn't it? So
Yes.
remove the enzymes from foods to give it a longer shelf life.
Shelf life, yes. So, you know, so that's why the fresher you eat is the better. Eat fresh if you can. And I mean, I'm saying this knowing, you know, the times we're living in, and, you know, what we need to do into preparing, and yes. But hey, we do our best, eh? We will do our best, and God will help us.
Indeed, indeed.
Sharon?
Okay, I've got a question. Thank you so much. Because I'm sat here thinking, what do I eat? And sometimes it answers right under your nose. So I'm sat in my front garden looking at the lawn, and it is covered with, sad to say, lots of white clover. So I'm thinking, is that my answer? Should I be having more white clover? And or even red clover? I mean, you know, do those have some kind of benefit in the situation that you're talking about with the histamine levels, or a detriment even?
There's a list of herbs. I didn't see clover, but there's a list of herbs that dill, rosemary, oregano. Let me say, I've got a list up here. At least we can get that list. I don't quite remember it from my head. But yes, nettle. You know, we always talk about nettle on TGI. Nettle is queen. Nettle as well are some of the herbs that we can partake with. Either in a tea, tincture. Of course, we know we can always steam or nettle, have it as part of a meal. But yeah, those are the ones that can help. And try to remember you're increasing the enzyme. Do whatever you're doing is to increase the DAO enzyme, because that will put a lid on histamine. Because the body also makes histamine, but the foods we're eating also come in with histamine. So we want to keep histamine in check. So there's not an intolerance to it.
Yeah, thanks. The only reason why I was mentioning the clover was because obviously in different climates, certain things are in abundance, and sometimes what's in abundance in that season is actually what you need. So recently when I was in Jamaica, there was soursop leaves. I'm sure they're still there. I didn't take them all, but so that is in good, you know, in good amounts, and that helps us with our blood pressure.
Yes.
So I was wondering if what's in abundance here in the UK. Yes, there is nettle, although that seems to be dying back a bit now. I remember hearing eat the nettle when it's young, not as it's starting to get older in the season. But the clover is ripe in season right now, so that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, try it, Sharon.
Yeah, I'll do some research on it, and hopefully I'll get my answers before the clovers start to die back.
Yeah. So there's holy basil, there's cilantro, lemongrass. You know, we don't have those in abundance, but you know, sage as well are some of the herbs. Some of the herbs that we can use. And of course, the nutrition aspect of it as well too. Yeah, there's more foods or lentils as well. All the foods is between C, B6, magnesium. And you know, magnesium is one of those ones where, you know, sometimes, like for example, individuals who are not able to eat like spinach, but they're going to need a lot of magnesium, because a woman, she needs 330 grams per day. So where's she going to get her magnesium? So where she may be low on food, because maybe she has a dysbiosis in her gut's not working well, there's permeability going on there, she may have to jump to a supplement. to help her out during this time. Now, these are the times when I will research the supplements and get them for the clients, but I always tend to go foods first.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hello, I have a question. Hello.
Hello. Sure. Go ahead.
Hi, so I'm Janelle. I'm from America. A quick question, like how would someone get in contact with you and be able to get like your services or to know like certain supplements and stuff that they have to do?
Okay. You can email TTI to get my contact, or I can, or Shirley, you want to put that in the chat for me? You can, or I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, you mean the TTI email?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to answer me an email, yeah. And so we can pass the information on. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I've just placed it in the chat. So if anyone would like to speak with Sonya, and then we'll do a swap.
Shirley,
Yes, Denise?
hello, great presentation, by the way. I just wanted to ask, with regards to the herbs, you've got sage and all the others that were on the presentation. Can you make teas with all of them, and how do you use them? Do you just boil it? Do you draw it? Do you just put a couple of leaves in a or just food? Or
Yeah.
because I've never heard of really having sage tea, or I kind of wonder how would you, is it just a couple of leaves in a teacup with some hot water? Would you boil it up? I mean, I'm just, just for...
Yeah, you steep. Yes, you're gonna steep your herb. Steep, for example, sage, you can steep your herb. Steep sage in a cup, I would say maybe a 200 ml of water, a teaspoon, the dry herb, and you boil the water and steep and just.
Okay, the dry herb, not the fresh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dry herb. And holy basil in your cooking, oregano as well too, in your stews. You can find, I'm sure you can, the oregano have in tinctures. You can also have the food grade oregano, and of course, look, I don't mind taking it, but this is really, really hot, a really hot herb. But if you can, of course, you'll be taking it with water or sometimes oil to help it to get down into the stomach. But I always like to use it topical, so it goes into the pores of the body, because it's a really hot herb. Oregano is. Dill, again, using in cooking as well. Cilantro, and they all come in, well, majority of them in oils. So you have cilantro oils as well, holy basil oils, essential oils. But let me just quickly say that not all oils are made equal. So when I say oils, I'm particularly speaking to a particular brand of oil that you can apply to the skin, and of course, be cautious just in case there's any reaction to it. It burns the skin. So you didn't apply another carrot oil with it. Your rosemary as well too. You get like tinctures as well. Mint, of course. Mint, peppermint, spearmint. That's what makes lovely teas. Yeah. Lemongrass as well too. Tincture as well as herbs, fresh herbs to make a tea, if you can get those. But these are some of the herbs that I wanted to share with you that will help to increase that enzyme, because not to lose, and I'm repeating myself over because not to lose fat, we want to increase the enzyme that's in the body. It's made from the kidneys. That will help histamine, keep histamine in check.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm not sure if anyone else would like to ask any questions to Sonya. But if not, apparently the poster was shown for Kevin Lee, and I was disconnected, so I was unable to speak on it. So if Edgar would like to share it, then I'll be able to talk about it. Thank you, Edgar. But Sonya, I just want to say thank you so much again. And as Mum said, I look forward to seeing you by God's grace next month. And of course, everybody else who's coming.
Yes, okay. Thank you for having me. Praise God.
Okay, so this is the poster that's going around, and we thought it'll be a good one to show the workshops that's going to be happening for that week, for the week of Clefin Ling. Wait, hold on, baby. So we have a few workshops here. So we have Sister Rowena Davis, and she's doing blend of flavors. So this will be a raw cooking demo. Then we have Marcia Mendoza, and she's doing the treasures of God's pharmacy. So she's doing medicinal herbs. So that's what she's going to be speaking on. Then we have Sonya, who just spoke, and she's doing nutrition for living. So before we have the raw cooking demo, we're going to have Sonya speak, and then talk about the nutrition when it comes to food, and then we'll have our demo, our food demo. Then we have Tanya Jackson from the US. She's talking about women's health. Pastor Robert Hines, he's doing navigating the necessity of country living. And then we have Scott Turner doing men's health. We have Dr. Lucille Fifield, she's doing the deadly trio. Louise Reed, why aren't you detoxing? So the benefits of detoxing, why we should be detoxing. Then we have Jackie Brown, she's doing Synsic. So she's doing the link between disease and disobedience. So this is focusing on the spiritual and the mental aspect when it comes to the link in terms of our minds, in terms of us being disobedient, and the link of when it comes to disease. And then Lewis, this one is really like a closed group because it's for the teens, for those who are coming and they have teenagers. This is just for the teens. It's a teens workshop, and this is where they'll be discussing with one another, basically like living in this world, in society, and what they're facing. So that's the workshops for the week. And yeah, for those who are coming, this is what we will be discussing. So yeah, thank you, Edgar, for sharing it though. For the workshops. So, Sonya, I don't know if you have any final remarks for us.
Want to say that to bring more awareness and just be in tune with yourself. When you don't eat in a rush. When you eat your food, just to see, and I know that's be difficult sometimes, but just to reflect. How was that meal? Breakfast, lunch? Is it dinner? You know, how was it for me? How did I feel? How are there any symptoms? And if it's not mealtime and you're having symptoms, where is this coming from? And so sometimes we often just brush things away. Oh, that runny nose, where am I getting runny nose from? Anyway, it just put it back of you, just carry on. But where is that runny nose coming? With an itchy throat, swollen tongue, or knee pain, joint pain? Bloating, I never bloat before. What's happening here? Just check in a little bit more with yourself. A bit more self-care, I would say. And of course, always try to find the root cause. So you're bloating, okay, I need to eat more fiber. Why am I bloating? Am I not drinking enough water? Am I not sleeping? Sleeping and bloating goes hand in hand as well. See, God has made this body, and I've got an intricate masterpiece, right? And so we have to be detectives for ourselves because we live in such a world now where doctors don't have time or nurses don't have much time to give us anymore. And even so, sometimes the pathway they want to take, you may decide, oh, that's not my pathway to take. So you become more of a CEO for your body. But in the midst of that, go to the master who made the masterpiece. Go to God. Ask him for directions. What do I need to look for? And he, listen for the still small voice, and he will direct your path. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Sonya, for those words. Thank you all for joining, those who are on Zoom and also those on YouTube. And we thank you once again for being with us. Next month will be August already, and we will have Louise Reed. I'm not sure what date it is in August. It's the beginning of the month, but that will be the time when Louise will be speaking. Please, wherever you are, different parts of the world, whether it's morning or evening, closing Sabbath, I pray that you have a blessed week and blessed month. And by God's grace, we look forward to seeing you or speaking to you in August. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, TCI.
Bye.
Bye.